Welcome you back as we still continue our special broadcast here live from Bara Taxi. We are in Soweto this morning. We're still having a discussion as to what the way forward is in terms of fighting the scourge of rape happening in South Africa, the killings of young women and so on. So we're continuing our discussion on the justice system. But just before I go back to the SAPS and SANTACO as well as Tshwaranang Legal Advice Center, let me just bring into the discussion Nhlanhla Mokwena from POWA, people opposed to women abuse. Nhlanhla, good morning to you and thank you so much for joining us here on Morning Live. What is happening? What's the cause of this whole situation taking place here in South Africa?
Good morning and thanks for having me. The problem is that abusers and rapists do it because they know that they can get away with it. We have seen in our country that violence against women is not taken very seriously as it should be. We have been fighting this for years. POWA has been in existence for 38 years. And ever since the organization started, we have been talking about the re-victimization of survivors, the treatment that they are treated with at police stations and at courts, and the non-implementation of the laws that we have in the country. As soon as those laws are implemented properly, the perpetrators will know that abuse is not condoned in our country. Yeah. But we seem to be condoning it when they know that they can get a fine after beating up their wives or girlfriends and they are at hospital for 4 months. But when they come out and then the court says because you went to the hospital late or because there are no witnesses, then we can fine you 4,000 rands.
Yeah, just before we look into the issue of the justice system, let us just look at the root cause of this abuse taking place, because a lot of people are saying that women stay in abusive relationship thinking that something best will come out of heaven and make their relationships work.
But we also have to look at the way we are raised as women. We are raised to be submissive. We are raised not to air our dirty laundry. And as I grow up as a young girl and I'm being taught that as a woman I have to preserve my family despite whatever happens, think about it that when I grow up and I get married and I'm being told that you are getting married and in this marriage you must preserve it. You cannot embarrass our family values. The way we socialize our girl and boy children is wrong because we are not building gender equality from a very young age. Right. We are saying boys are like this, girls are like this, and we are teaching our girls to be submissive despite the fact that they will be violated.
All right. Now, Dlamini, apparently there is an incident that happened here around Diepkloof whereby a lady was abducted apparently by a taxi driver, which is a similar incident to what we've seen earlier this year, abduction of women by allegedly by taxi drivers. How far is that case? And talk to us about the one that I've mentioned earlier on a spate of rapes happening to women abducted by taxi drivers around Gauteng here.
There is a team that was set up by the Provincial Commissioner to look at all those cases. At this stage, we've got 2 suspects that have been arrested, but the task team has information that are following to make sure that these perpetrators are being...
2 suspects arrested in relation with which case? The previous one or the one that I'm mentioning that happened last week here in Diepkloof?
They were arrested in connection with the previous case that happened in Kliptown, and those suspects are still behind bars.
Okay, now let me just quickly go to you, Bafana Magagula. What should happen going forward? You've mentioned the issue of South Africans coming together as a collective to make sure that this goes away, but I think it points back to the association. What is going to happen going forward? We see SANTACO talking on events such as this. When something happens, they're always the first people to talk. But going forward, what happens now?
Going forward, we will continue our struggle with our Hlokomela program from one taxi rank to another. We do joint mobilization and campaigns with the Minister of Transport across the country and all other stakeholders. Like I said to you, Sonke Gender Justice is part. We are part of them. We've signed an MOU. We want to really fight this violence. We want men to come back to their values and recognize themselves as men, valued men, not just men by just being the body.
All right. Nondumiso, let me just quickly come to you and give you, let's hear your final say as Tshwaranang.
Yes, thank you so much. What I do want to say that as organizations that are working in the area of violence against women, we certainly would be happy to work together with the taxi associations in addressing this scourge. I also do want to say to Colonel Lungelo that as organizations, we've been working on training police officials in various parts of the country to sensitize them on gender issues, but to also address, to look at legislative frameworks that relate to addressing gender-based violence. But I have to be honest that we haven't been winning much. I'll make one example.
What's the problem?
I'll make one example. We did a training in a certain police station in Mpumalanga. After sensitizing police officials, one police official actually came back to us to say, but what if she was wearing a miniskirt? The reality of the matter is that I think we need to recognize that yes, we need to put our hands together in addressing this, but there's an even bigger problem that we're not talking about. It costs money to address violence against women in the country. We have consistently heard from various role players in the criminal justice system that there aren't sufficient funds, financial resources allocated to this. We need to also interrogate at this point, what is the actual budget to address violence against women in the country? If we're consistently cutting budgets, then it means we are certainly going to struggle to address this issue in the country.
All right. No, thank you so much to my 4 guests here who spoke to us from the SAPS, from Tshwaranang Legal Advice Center. POWA was also here, and SANTACO, which is the National Taxi Council, was also joining me here. Well, let me just hand you back to Leanne in our studios. When we come back, we'll also be chatting to some of the people around here just to hear their view on this matter.